Hi everybody, and welcome to Seeking the Sacred Earth. So, when it comes to our cosmic weather right now, we have a lot of planets in a zone that represents the grandmother and grandfather archetype. And we have had Saturn and Pluto there for quite a while. So we've been working with this energy all year of 2019, and we're going to continue to be working with it through 2020. So what does this mean? Why I like working with archetypes is because it allows me to grow in a strategic way, in a compartmentalized way. So archetypes are basically templates of energy that every human being shares. And they are expressed collectively in the collective consciousness and also in each individual consciousness. So I've made several videos on this. I can link some below where I get into the basics. We all have masculine energies within us and we all have feminine energies within us. And they sort of fan out. So for instance, in our feminine energies, we all have a maiden, a mother, and a crone. Crone being the grandmother archetype. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And we also have this displayed in the masculine archetype. We have like the knight, the king, and then the wise man within each and every one of us. It's like, we think we're one entity in a skin suit, and in fact, we're made up of all these perspectives, all these facets. Just like a diamond or a crystal has many faces, so does each human being. And so many of us only know a few of our facets. And that's where we can get into stagnation and boredom, depression. And it's all about getting to know every facet. I mean, it's a lifetime of work. We're never going to get to all of it. But it's so fun trying. And it makes self-exploration a creative process and a fun process. So the crone and the wise man, or the grandmother and the grandfather. Interestingly enough, in Western culture, now there are some exceptions in Western culture, but generally, the way that we deal with older people is not in integrity. No, that's my opinion. We are starting to make changes, just like when it comes to raising our children, there's more awareness around it, there's more consciousness around it. We're not doing the same things that the generations before us did that caused trauma and distress and pain. We're, changing things. And I think how we treat our elders is also changing and is going to be changing as we heal the planet, because it's all connected. I love the idea of grandmother Earth and grandfather Sky. The necessity of we must have both to exist. But where I really love working with this archetype within me is that there is a silence to these archetypes, that silence isn't so encouraged in our society right now. It is very much about, like if you're online and with social media and you're trying to start a business, it's all about how many posts do you do a day and how much can you say and how much can you offer and, how can you link this and that. And there's so much going on politically and globally, and we must speak out when something ignites our value system and our passion. But there is this other layer of the crone and the wise man that sits in a certain level of wisdom, faith, and trust because they have experienced so much. Now, I'm not necessarily in my crone phase as a female, but these are places within myself that I'm starting to get to know. And I wanted to share this with you guys because it's offering me a lot of peace. Just personally in my life, authority in general, my parents, my grandparents, didn't have great examples, so to speak. Although there were other people in my life who represented these archetypes of grandmother and grandfather for me that taught me a lot, but they weren't necessarily my blood relations. So this may be an archetype that you may have some resistance to. Even more reason to go full bore into it and explore it. So what I recommend doing to start working with this archetype is in a meditative space, when you've calmed your breath and really centered and grounded into your body, however you do that, to go into that sacred space where you feel safe, and that can look like a garden or a temple or a church or a cabin or a pyramid, whatever that is for you. And then just with your intention, because intention is everything, not just in this third dimensional realm, but in all of our mind space and all of the spirit space, it's all about your intention. And that's all you need to do to call forth these archetypes within you. And as I work with clients, we do this exercise a lot with these different archetypes. What always ends up happening, just because of your intention, a character will come into this meditative space that you're in your mind's eye. And it will be based on the intention that you've put forth. So we put forth the intention of we want to get to know our crone, our grandmother archetype, or our wise man, our grandfather archetype. And you just allow the scene to unfold very much like you're watching a movie. And remember, Einstein said, if you can imagine it, then it's real. So this is where great healing can happen, because the body is as connected to what's going on in your mind's eye as it is in your waking, open-eyed state. So any information you get from these archetypes as you meditate with them, as you allow them to sort of activate like a movie or a TV series, Game of Thrones in your own head, all of that information is going to be able to be stored physically within your body, mentally within your thinking space, and spiritually. So what's really interesting about this archetype is, like I said, oftentimes they are very silent. And when working with clients, we run into that where they don't just give up a lot of information, much like your own grandmother or grandfather. To get them to talk about their past, oftentimes, I know with my papa, that's what I called my mother's father, you'd have to really ask. You'd have to ask about their life and their childhood and their experiences, especially if they were at war. Nobody likes talking about that from those generations and what they experienced and the trauma. So you have to ask questions. Well, it's the same thing when we're working with archetypes. So you go into the space and you ask this archetype, whether you're working with the crone or the wise man, and I suggest take time to use both. And before you've sat down with this exercise, make a list of some questions you want to ask this collective energy that we all share of the crone, the grandmother, or the wise man and the grandfather. And see what they say when you start asking. You can ask personal questions, or you can ask, questions of a larger variety, like what's going on our planet now. You can ask spiritual questions, really anything. When you're done, you always want to thank them. And sometimes these wiser archetypes will offer us a gift. And that gift will be some sort of symbol, right? Because archetypes are symbols and they work in symbology when we meditate with them. Whatever that gift is, you want to remember it. You want to write it down. Write down the answers to your questions that they may have given you in this, movie in your mind. Write down what the object was or whatever it is that they gave you. And then sit with this for, I would say, at least 72 hours. And see what starts manifesting in your waking life. Now, this is also a time to really be doing due diligence and respecting your elders, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the wise ones, the ones who came before, our tribal elders, the indigenous elders. And to, in your waking life, also seek wisdom from these people. And sure, they may not have wisdom for your specific issue, but there are some basics about human existence that the elders in our world have insight on. And if we could humble ourselves to ask for their wisdom to be shared, we would probably be a lot better off, because on some level we keep repeating the same mistakes in society. And if we actually learn from the generations before us, we can stop making mistakes and actually start making a progress that actually nurtures the planet, nurtures our young people, and nurtures economic growth at the same time. There's a way to do it all together. You know, this energy that I'm referring to, in astrology we call it Capricorn energy. It's very much about maturity and integrity and a focus on climbing the mountain. Its totem is the goat. The sea goat, actually. A goat with a tail. So that also harkens to the ability to go into the water, which represents our emotional life as a collective and as an individual. So there's really something to the wisdom of the goat that climbs but is also able to be at home in the emotional world, that we can succeed and achieve but still be connected to our emotions, which are ultimately our heart and our ability to be open and compassionate. So, you know, if you have no understanding of archetypes, this could seem very way out there. But I encourage you to listen to the videos below and also research this on your own, because as I work with clients, one thing is very clear to me. All change happens from within. And when we make the changes within, in our own hearts, in our own minds, by doing this kind of diligent work with the active imagination, we change our bodies, we heal illnesses, we heal relationships, we create prosperity. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at info@seekingthesacredearth.com. Please leave comments. Head to the website, check out some of the other videos. If you're interested in a one-on-one session, of course, reach out to me and we'll hook it up and do some of this personally. So good luck with meeting your own inner grandmother crone and your own inner grandfather wise man. And good luck getting the wisdom that is already yours. You know, it's already within you. You're just going to be bringing it to the surface. So perhaps you could share it and you could be one of the people who are changing our world for the better, for the generations to come. Thank you so much for viewing. Like, subscribe, and of course the most important thing, if you know of people who have ears to hear, minds that are open, and hearts that are ready, please send this message to them. Thank you so much.